Okay, how many of us really get how the economy works? Like, it just feels like this big invisible thing, right?
Yeah.
That controls our lives. We feel it, the ups and downs, the anxiety of checking our bank accounts. But the actual mechanics of it all, a bit of a mystery, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. It's like we're on a roller coaster we didn't design.
Exactly. And it's like, I get that, things like interest rates, GDP, all that matters. But honestly, makes my head spin a little bit. I want to understand, though, isn't it crazy that we basically entrust our financial well-being to a system we barely even get?
It's kind of ironic when you put it like that.
Right.
Good news is it's not magic. It's a system, a very complex one. But with parts you can actually understand. And a lot of it boils down to human behavior, which we're all experts in a way.
Okay, that makes me feel slightly better. So, like,
Oh, yeah.
where do we even start with unpacking this massive system? What's the entry point for someone who's basically financially fluent in, like, emojis?
All right, well, think of the economy as a giant machine, fueled by a constant flow of transactions. Every time we buy a coffee, pay rent, invest in stocks, we're part of that flow.
Yeah, I get that. But I still don't see how my, like, daily latte habit connects to the grand scheme of things.
It's all about scale. Our individual transactions combined with millions of others create this force. It's called total spending. And total spending is the engine that drives economic growth.
Whoa, so you're saying if we all decided to, like, boycott lattes, the economy would take a hit?
You got it. Now, there's another really powerful force here, credit. Think of it as the not-so-secret ingredient that turbocharges the whole system.
Okay, turbocharge sounds a little dangerous.
It can be. Credit lets us consume more than we produce right now. It's like borrowing from our future selves to boost our spending power today. And here's the thing. Most of what we think of as money, it's actually credit.
Wait, seriously, how much of the money in the economy is actually just like promises to pay later, IOUs?
Well, in the U.S., there's about $50 trillion in credit circulating, compared to only, get this, $3 trillion in actual money.
Hold on. 50 trillion. That's
Oh.
like more money than I can even fathom. Are you telling me our whole economic system is built on a foundation of basically IOUs?
Yeah, essentially. And that's where things get, well, interesting and maybe a little bit precarious. See, this reliance on credit, it leads to something called the short-term debt cycle.
Debt cycle. Okay, I'm officially intrigued, but also slightly terrified. Tell me more.
All right, think of it as a natural rhythm of the economy. The cycle lasts, say, 5 to 8 years, has distinct phases. It starts with expansion, right? Businesses are doing well, people feel optimistic, they spend more, drives prices up.
Okay, yeah, I can relate to that. Like, think back a few years ago. Felt like everyone was buying a new car or a house. Good times, right? But then what?
Well, that easy credit, that increased spending, it leads to inflation. And to combat inflation, central banks do what?
Raise interest rates. Yeah, I remember that. My student loan payment suddenly felt like a black hole, sucking away my entire paycheck.
Exactly. Higher interest rates make borrowing more expensive, so people borrow less and spend less. The economy slows down, sometimes even dips into recession.
So it's like a constant push and pull. Spending up, prices up, then interest rates up, spending down, and repeat.
You got it. But here's the catch. Each time the cycle peaks, we end up with even more debt than before, which sets the stage for something much bigger, the long-term debt cycle.
Okay, now I'm getting goosebumps. Long-term debt cycle.
That sounds a little apocalyptic. What exactly are we talking about here?
So imagine this. Debt just keeps piling up for decades, often growing faster than income. But here's the crazy part. Asset prices like, stocks, real estate, they're going up too. So people feel wealthy. They keep borrowing, keep spending, lulled into this sense of security by, those big portfolio numbers. It's like building a house of cards.
Yeah.
On a shaky foundation, right?
Yeah.
Looks impressive for a while.
Yeah.
But like one strong wind could just topple the whole thing.
Exactly. And that strong wind often comes in the form of, well, unsustainable debt levels. At some point, those debt payments, they get too big. People have to cut back on spending, incomes start falling, and that feeling of wealth, poof, it's gone. That's when we enter deleveraging.
Deleveraging. Sounds like a financial detox, and I'm guessing it's not a fun one.
Not exactly a spa day, no. It's basically bringing those inflated debt burdens back down to a manageable level. There are 4 main ways to do it, each with its own set of consequences.
Okay, hit me. What's on the menu for this this economic detox?
All right, so option 1, cut in spending. Austerity, as it's sometimes called. Governments tighten their belts, businesses do the same, individuals too. Trying to pay down that debt sounds responsible, right?
Yeah, on the surface, sure.
But here's the problem. When everyone cuts back at the same time, it can actually make the debt burden worse. Because it suppresses incomes, economic activity shrinks.
Ouch. A vicious cycle. Okay, option 2. Maybe a little less painful?
Not really.
Okay.
Option 2 is debt reduction. Defaults, restructurings, that kind of thing. Basically, people and businesses, they just can't repay their loans. Lenders have to take a loss.
So it's like everyone's financial house of cards just
Yeah,
collapses all at once.
pretty much. Messy process can trigger a financial crisis, lead to a deep economic contraction, what we often call a depression.
All right, 2 options down, not feeling super optimistic here. What else we got?
Option 3 is wealth redistribution. Governments try to, well, ease the burden by raising taxes on the wealthy to fund social programs, stimulate the economy.
Yeah, I can see the headlines now. Tax the rich. Definitely a politically charged solution. What are the downsides there?
Well, while it can help with inequality, it often faces, strong opposition. People see it as an attack on individual liberties. It can also lead to capital flight, discourage investment, which hurts recovery.
Okay, 3 down, and each one sounds, well, pretty messy.
Mm.
What's the final act in this economic drama?
The fourth option, perhaps the most controversial one, printing money. The central bank creates new money. Out of thin air, basically. Uses it to buy assets, government bonds, hoping to stimulate the economy, boost those asset prices.
Isn't that kind of like cheating at Monopoly?
It can feel that way,
Mhm.
and it's definitely risky. Print too much, you risk hyperinflation, which is, it can be devastating for an economy.
Okay, so 4 options, each with its own set of challenges, potential pitfalls. Is there a best way to navigate this deleveraging thing?
The key is balance. It's about managing all 4 of these levers. Spending cuts, debt reduction, wealth redistribution, and even money printing. Finding the most sustainable path forward. If policymakers get it right, it's possible to have what some call a beautiful deleveraging.
Beautiful deleveraging. That sounds like an oxymoron. How can something so potentially painful be beautiful?
It's beautiful in the sense that it minimizes the disruption, economic and social. It's about getting debt to decline gradually relative to income, allows for a smoother transition to a more stable foundation. Think of it as a controlled descent instead of a free fall.
Okay, yeah, I like the sound of that a lot more. But realistically, how do we make this beautiful deleveraging happen?
It's complex, for sure. It needs a multifaceted approach. One crucial factor is, encouraging sustainable growth that's faster than the growth of debt. In other words, make the pie bigger without relying on ever-increasing amounts of credit.
Makes sense. But how do we boost growth during deleveraging when everyone's naturally going to be more cautious?
It's about finding the right mix. Fiscal and monetary policies. Governments can invest in infrastructure, education, research, foster innovation and productivity. Central banks can keep those interest rates low, encourage borrowing and investment.
So it's about creating the right environment where businesses, individuals, they feel confident enough to invest, to spend, even while we're trying to reduce overall debt.
Exactly. And it's not just about top-down stuff. It also needs a mindset shift at the individual level.
What do you mean?
Well, for decades now, we've been kind of conditioned to believe that debt is just part of life. We take out loans for houses, cars, education, even vacations. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to spend, spend, spend. But if we want a truly sustainable future, we got to rethink our relationship with debt.
Yeah, you're hitting on something really important. It's about being more mindful about our spending habits,
Yeah.
living within our means, recognizing that true wealth isn't about accumulating stuff. It's about financial security, peace of mind.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about making choices that align with our long-term goals, our values, not just getting swept along by that consumerist tide.
That's a really powerful message. But it also feels a bit daunting. Where do we even begin to shift that mindset, break free from those spending patterns? They're so ingrained.
It starts with awareness. The more we understand how the economy works, the better equipped we are to make those informed decisions about our own finances and advocate for policies that promote a more sustainable future for everyone.
Knowledge is power, huh?
It really is. And it's not just about, crunching numbers, understanding the jargon. It's about getting those human factors, the emotions, biases, our beliefs about the future. Those things drive economic behavior.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's people making these decisions. And people are, complex,
Yeah.
often irrational.
Exactly. You can build the most sophisticated model, but if people panic, Start hoarding toilet paper, investing in like meme stocks based on internet rumors. All bets are off.
Is that Keynes quote, right? The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Can't ignore human psychology.
100%. And that's what makes this whole field so fascinating and so challenging. It's a system that's both mechanical and deeply human, predictable and unpredictable, rational and totally irrational.
It's like trying to predict the weather patterns of a hurricane. There's science there, but also this element of chaos.
Love that analogy. And it highlights the need for, well, knowledge and the adaptability. We need the principles, the foundation, but also got to be flexible, ready to adjust as things change.
So a balance between informed planning and like rolling with the punches.
Exactly. And cultivating resilience. Economic cycles can be tough. The future's always uncertain. But throughout history, humans have faced these challenges, and we've come out the other side. We're incredibly good at innovating, at adapting.
It's a good reminder. It's easy to get lost in the doom and gloom, but ultimately we do have power to shape our economic future.
We absolutely do. And that brings us back to, I think, a fundamental question. Knowing what we now know about these cycles, these powerful forces, what choices can we make, individually, collectively, to create a better future for ourselves, for generations to come?
That is the million-dollar question, one that deserves some serious thought. But I think we've laid a pretty good foundation here, wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah. We've explored this economic machine from those little everyday things to debt cycles to the challenges of deleveraging.
And we've highlighted how crucial human behavior is, the good, the bad, and everything in between. But there's one takeaway I really want to emphasize for our listeners.
I'm listening.
It's this. The economy isn't some like mystical force beyond our comprehension. It's a system we created. And that means we can understand it. We can influence it. We're not just passengers on this roller coaster. We have the power to shape our financial destinies, individually and together.
I couldn't agree more.
So we've really gone deep here into this whole economic machine. And you know what? It's a lot less scary than I thought it would be.
Right. Once you kind of get the basics, the mechanics of it all, it makes a lot more sense.
Totally. We've seen how all those little things, buying coffee, rent, even those online shopping sprees, they all add up to this huge force that drives the economy.
Yeah, and we've learned about credit, how it can be this like turbocharger. But one, you got to handle carefully. Too much reliance on it, you get those booms and busts, leaves everyone feeling a bit whiplashed.
For sure. And speaking of whiplash, we can't forget about deleveraging. Bringing those debt levels back down sounds kind of scary, but it's just part of the cycle.
It's like hitting the reset button in a way. And as we talked about, there are ways to do it, to make it less painful. Finding that balance between spending cuts, debt reduction, wealth redistribution, and even that whole money printing thing.
Balance seems to be the key word here. And of course, we can't forget the human element. All those emotions, biases, those unpredictable things we do, that's what makes this whole economics machine so interesting. And complicated.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that economics, it's not just about numbers, charts, and graphs. It's about people, their choices, their dreams, fears, all that. It's all woven together in this crazy web of activity.
So as we wrap up this incredible journey, what are some things our listeners should take away? What can we do, like as individuals, to navigate all this complex, unpredictable world?
Well, I think the most important thing is to just stay informed. The more you understand about how it all works, the better decisions you can make for yourself, and for the policies that affect us all.
Knowledge is power, right? But beyond just staying informed, what are some practical things people could do to build a stronger foundation financially?
One thing I always say is make a budget. It might sound basic, but so many people just avoid it. Having a clear picture of your income, your spending, it helps you see where you can save. Make the most of what you've got.
Right. It's about taking control instead of feeling like you're always playing catch up.
Exactly. And another thing, invest in your financial literacy. There are so many resources out there, books, podcasts, online courses. Learn about investing, managing debt, planning for the future. It's empowering.
Love that. Empowering yourself with knowledge so you can make those smart decisions about your money.
That's the goal. And speaking of empowerment, I think it's crucial to participate in the economic conversation.
What do you mean by that?
Don't be afraid to speak up, share your opinions, get involved in those discussions about policies, support candidates who align with your values. We have a responsibility, to shape things, make the economic landscape better for everyone.
That's a powerful message. We're not just just cogs in this machine. We can influence things, the direction of the economy.
Exactly. And yeah, the future might seem uncertain. But humans, we've always faced economic challenges
Hmm.
throughout history. And we've come out stronger, more resilient. We're incredibly good at adapting, finding solutions.
That's a good point. Easy to get caught up in all the negative stuff, but we have the power to shape our own destiny economically.
We absolutely do.
Well, folks, this brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of economics. It's been quite a journey, full of insights, a few challenges, maybe even some aha moments along the way. Hopefully you're feeling a little less intimidated by it all, a little more empowered to, take control of your financial future.
That's what we were hoping for.
Remember, the economy, it's complex, but it's not a total mystery. If you understand those basic principles, the human element, you can be a more informed participant. So stay curious, stay engaged, and as always, thanks for diving in with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode with your friends. Until next time.